All right, let's get cooking. Or rather, let's not get cooking, or feeding for that matter. In fact, if you're watching this video, it might already be too late. Who knows? These are some of the monsters that you may have encountered at the start of your Summoner's War journey. And if you fed them, that sucks, dude. I'm sorry to hear that. We're gonna break this video up into segments. To start us off, this is what I'm calling the, aw shoot man, but it's not a big deal segment. Number 10, Shannon. Shannon would not have always been on a list like this for me. I've had a history of bias against Shannon on this channel. But with the advent of Abyss Dungeons, honestly, I've warmed up to her. She can hang. She's kind of chill.
You gotta skedaddle. I didn't realize you were chill like that. All right, you're good. That dude was so sick.
She has a lot of valuable debuffs going on. She applies glancing on skill 1. She's got a slow on skill 2. But then she's also got a super valuable skill 3 where she applies attack buff and defense buff to your team. So if you're a new player trying to break into giants, she's a great one to throw on your team. And you'll be surprised at how many floors you can clear just by the inclusion of Shannon. But again, she's a 2-star. So like, bummer, but not a big deal. You can always get another one. That's the good thing about most of these guys on the list, is like, it's not the end of the world if you fed any of them, really. So it's like, yeah, I regret it, but you'll have opportunities.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Number 9, it's Royd, the Wind Vagabond. One of the first monsters that you get in the game. One of the first 3. And he's actually really good, especially once he's Second Awakened. And you're gonna want to have the opportunity to Second Awaken him too. And that's why I'm saying that you'll regret it if you fed him. Though he, like the others that we talked about so far, the others just being Shannon, he is also a 2-star monster. He's got defense break, he's got provoke, and he attacks additionally, which I'm learning is one of my favorite clauses to be stapled onto a passive. Things like Dominic and Bella get me really excited. I love it when monsters attack again for whatever reason. I've seen people bring this guy into Giants. He gets a lot of use in Guild Siege too, and some folks like to use him in RTA, especially during the Special League seasons that restrict your use of Nat 5s or in 20-star. Number 8 is Bernard. This is the Wind Griffin. It can be kind of easy to overlook Bernard because at the beginning of Summoner's War, you're inundated with a bunch of support monsters, and Bernard is counted amongst them, but he's not a support monster in the traditional sense. He isn't healing you, he's boosting your attack bar and your speed. Now, where he really shines is Giants. We've talked about Giants quite a bit today, but honestly, it can't be overstated how important it is to nail that Giants team early on. He has defense break and attack break to both set up your damage and protect your team. But what's really cool about him is that he also boosts the attack bar of your team and applies a speed buff to everybody, so that way you'll get more turns. And something that I also wanted to note, because it bears mentioning again, is that the Water Rift Beast gimmick is not necessarily more HP, it's actually more turns. So when the Water Rift Beast puts a cap on you, Bernard can help cycle you out of it. Number 7. It's Ellucia, the Water Fairy. Yo, she is straight up the natural predator to the app icon of this game. Like, Artemiel is not anywhere that Ellucia is. If he hears that she's going to the party, he's not going to be there. He's sick that day. She's got freeze, cleanse and heal, and a 2-turn sleep. She's a menace on Revenge, by the way. She's one of those monsters that never ended up being bad. It's just she kind of like cycles out of people's collective memory for a little while. I always keep one rune just in case I see an Artemiel. 6. Seek the Fire Hellhound. Seek is slightly higher than Bernard and Ellucia, even though he's a 2-star and they're 3-stars, because he is actively used in Spiritual Realm. Probably the most effective way to clear the Spiritual Realm is with this dog, which is kind of crazy to say because, again, he's one of the 3 units that you get at the start of the game. The reason why he's so good is he applies an attack buff and a crit rate buff. That combination, especially in the duration that he provides it, is pretty rare. By the time it's over, he'll have this skill back up again. And in places like the Spiritual Realm where you need to crit, that's really important. And I think by now it's probably apparent that by regretting feeding, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's hard to get these monsters back. It just means that they can contribute a lot to your progression in Summoner's War. 5. Fran the Light Fairy Queen. Holy heavens to Betsy. The amount of people that I've heard have fed Fran by accident is off the charts. It's frankly way too many. 1 would be too many. But don't worry, I've got a solution for you. If you didn't keep the Fran that was given to you in the Summoner's Way quest line, she's available in the Ancient Coin Shop. The bad news about that is that you have to spend your ancient coins to get her. But To this day, one of the best supporting units that you can get at the start of the game. She's so good, in fact, that I still recommend that people 6-star her as quickly as humanly possible. Even though other popular and accessible support units like Riley, the Wind Totemist, have entered into the public mind, I still recommend Fran because of how easy she is to get. You don't need to invest all that time into fusion, though that's not to say you shouldn't get Riley. Ow, I just hurt my little finger on the desk. Immunity, attack buff, attack break, single target cleanse and heal, great unit, and a backup speed lead. Look at that. It's all coming up Fran. 4, Spectra, Bernard's spicy brother. That doesn't ring quite the same way. Spectra is the Fire Griffin, and what Spectra is here for is very different than Bernard, because he's here for damage. Max HP damage scaling is the name of the game. Ever since the Abyss Dungeon bosses rolled up with stacks of HP, this sort of damage scaling has been way more valuable. And once you second awaken him too, that skill 3 gets even better. He also has the fastest base speed in the game, which is pretty cool because that means you can get more mileage out of your runes that have less speed. Because a lot of times if you're runing him for something like a Dragon's Abyss team, you'll probably want to put him on like attack, crit damage, attack, or like rage, speed, crit damage, attack, something like that. Check out the Dragon's Abyss video. He is also key for climbing TOA early. If you're struggling with one of the bosses, he's probably your answer. Number 3 is Priia, the Wind Harpy. She is suddenly on some pretty solid speed teams for Giant's Abyss and others, so if you have one, it might be worth looking into. She has defense break on every single skill, and on one of them, the defense break is guaranteed to land if the target's immune to stun, and bosses are immune to stun. Our penultimate entry, Racuni, the Fire Rat. Racuni has like always been really good, but lately he's been suspiciously good. He's been so good that people have been asking for him to get nerfed. Like, folks have been banning him when there's a bunch of, like, LD5s next door. And that's insane. But not as insane as it sounds. He has auto cleanse and heal every single turn, and he also has turn cycling built in on his skill too. He can straight up give a turn and a speed buff to somebody. That means that he can give it back to himself so he can get another cleanse and heal, or he could give it to, say, a Miles plus the speed buff so Miles ignores more defense. He combos really well with a lot of units. He's also always falling into some sort of trouble in the cinematics. I don't know why that is. Someone hates Racuni in the cinematic team. Number 1, you probably saw this coming. It's Lapis, the Water Magic Knight. Lapis is really cool. She's a great Famon farmer. You can use her on TOA Ruined on Despair. Part of the reason why so many people regret feeding her though and why she's number 1 is because she's a 4-star, so it's kind of harder to get her back if you fed her in the beginning. So in a way, she's getting number 1 almost by default, but I feel like she also deserves it because I've definitely heard the most people say that they fed Lapis and they have yet to get another one. That's the list, but if you regret feeding any monster that didn't make an appearance in this video, tell me what it is in the comments and I'll lament with you. My thoughts and prayers go out to you. Have a great day, everybody.